Welcome, everybody. We have another incredible session for you today. We've had a lot of great ones, and I'm really excited to be partnered with Tario for today's session. I'm going to give the room like a minute for some folks to come in. And as we do that, as folks start coming in here, quick icebreaker, like let's all drop your LinkedIn links. Like this isn't a promotional space, but definitely want people to be able to connect with others here outside of the webinar. We've been throwing events for 6 years now. And one of the most underrated places for connection actually happens digitally in webinars because everybody's so engaged. You have a lot of like-minded, similar role folks, and we have some incredible speakers that are going to be carrying the stage, but that doesn't mean that there can't be some quick networking as folks are just all dropping it on the right here. So connect on LinkedIn, keep the conversation going in Slack after. Like this is a potent one. It's one some of you all were thinking. Maybe you're talking in your groups. And Tario was like, we just want to address this head on. AI Outbound was probably a mistake, right? So I'm joined by three incredible speakers, but listen, AI was supposed to fix everything. We realized quickly that it required the human, operationalizing it to be, help drive some of the solution. But right now we're in a phase where AI may have broken out. So these incredible speakers, I'm joined by Samvit, the CEO of Tario, Tim, the VP of Business Development at Peoplescape, and Erik, fractional CMO, CRO, and advisor for scaling startups, who are really going to take this topic on. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, what's going on?
Thank you.
Hello.
And thank you, Tario, for being an incredible partner. For more info on them, stay till the end, and we'll get that to you.
Yep. Thank you so much, Jared. We have a wonderful session here. Just to get started, the title is probably raising eyebrows. We've kept it intentionally provocative. The point is not that AI outbound was a mistake and we should not be using AI in sales. It's more like where we have been using it is not the right place. And the problem is what teams have done with it, right? When AI became the means and not the goal, that's why the problem arose, right? We didn't use it to fix problems. We used AI as the solution directly. For that, we have a wonderful panel introduced by Jared. Tim and Erik have years of experience, decades rather of experience between them. We lean on Tim specifically for his operator view, building outbound motions, PD teams. And Erik will bring a revenue performance view as well as, how buyer engagement works. To get started, right, we want this to be a candid conversation about what's working, what's not working, and not an AI hype session as to, we can do all of this and you won't need to hire any more people. To get started, right, Tim, you've been in the industry for a long time now. You've seen, selling motions change. It started from social selling, automation to intent data, and now AI. Are we seeing that AI is something new, or have we seen this before?
Well, I think the great thing is in business, if it's happened before, it will happen again. This is not new, right? This is the same thing. Go back to 1939, right? Go back to the printing press, back to anything, right? So I think what we've done is we've said, oh my goodness, I can now, and if you filled in any other time in history, it would be the same thing. I can now do, I can now make a web page on the screen and it loads up when I go to this thing called a URL, right? So I think the great part is it's been here forever. We've been doing this same thing. And the awesome part is that when you look at it historically and you think of it historically, which is when anybody does anything in studies, you study the history of it, you realize that there's so much opportunity in using it to accelerate what you're doing. But it doesn't replace it. We're just using the same database technology we've already used. We just have a stronger tool to give us outcomes that are a bit tighter. So I think, that's the great part. But the thing you're now looking at, and I'll couch that with what we're able to do with databases, large amounts of data and give remarkably good insights from that data that we've never been able to do before. That is remarkable. And how we can see that and then make decisions, humans in the loop making those decisions on what to do. Oh my goodness. The things we're going to do are remarkable. But it's not a replacement too. You know what I mean? And we'll get into this a little further down the road, but even in some places, it's actually, from a compliance standpoint, you can't actually do what you're reading on LinkedIn to do with some of the things, just exfilling your data and copying and pasting it into Claude or something. So I know, Eric, we were chatting about that a bit of what, you've seen in that also.
Yep, absolutely, Eric. Tim, this is a very good perspective from, the seller side of things. Eric, what do you think about buyers, right? Buyers are also aware that, these AI tools are coming in. A lot of them are probably salespeople or people in, software companies. What do they think of, AI outbound happening, and how would they react to this?
I mean, as a buyer, it's pattern recognition. We all know it. I remember the first time I got a piece of direct mail that had a Post-it note attached to it that said, "Eric, you should take a look at this." And it looked like a ripped out page from a magazine. Brilliant, got my attention. And then I realized that was simply a mass-produced campaign. The magazine didn't exist. The ripped out was being done by somebody in some sort of a boiler room. The Post-it note was written by somebody with better handwriting than mine, and they went out. I actually got a call from my sister-in-law wondering if her husband was having an affair. She wanted to know who this Tracy was sending stuff to their house. So we see it coming. So then it became the mass emails. I remember under COVID, "Hey, Eric, I hope you and your family are doing well." You don't know who my family is. Especially when I got 15 random people telling me they're concerned about my family. Thank you. Send me a bundt cake or something. So the buyer's going to adapt. They're going to filter it out. They're just not even going to pay attention. It's going to be disengaged. So, which is, by the way, the same risk we had with mass-produced emails, with mass-produced direct mail. Personalized URLs were once a thing. And we're going to have the same thing with AI. I love AI. I use it constantly. I use multiple engines. But make sure you're not repeating the same mistakes we saw, because what's happening now is you can change your style very quickly. And within 3 weeks, people already know what game you're playing. They're going to move on to the next piece. And you're going to lose your whitelist privileges, or it's going to be another piece of people hitting my LinkedIn inbox kind of a thing.
I think Eric's the word you used there good was the game you're playing. So now and I've always been a big fan of top of funnel, not playing a game. I literally, right before this call, somebody called me and cold called me and said, read my LinkedIn and said, "Yeah, I'd love to be able to make a referral to you." And I stopped, and I let him go, and then I stopped and I said, what are you selling? What do you want? Why are you calling? And not being a jerk, tell me what you want. And it took me a while to unravel this. I want to help you. I want to guess. No, you don't. You're calling me. It's okay. Tell me what you want to sell me. I sell business coaching. And I went, okay, I can work with that, right? So the game of all these other things is now, I think what AI has done has shown the game so easily, which really any of the operators haven't figured out that their game is shown so easily, even though I can write all these things and I'm so glad you're on such podcasts and love the Red Sox and blah, whatever. Who cares? I got this for you. Are you interested? Is the classic of all business development, buyer to seller, fundamental 101, right? And now because AI has made it so verbose, the clarity of this is what I've got. Are you interested? And if not, peace out, no problem. No matter what medium I'm on, has given such an opportunity to a very clarified seller and to a buyer, because a buyer can go, all right, look, got it. What are you selling? We're not looking at that right now. And then the seller can now move, in this great part, in knowing that data, the seller can position themselves to communicate at the next juncture that is of best opportunity, again, with the same clarity to the buyer, and the buyer can receive. So now the buyer and the seller have a much better journey rather than it's replacing the journey, which I think is a beautiful place for us all to be. But it means you've got to be willing to be a real person, have enough in you to say, this is what I want to present, this is what I'm here for, and then be able to, my favorite two words in the English language, follow up.
Yeah.
Got it. On a little bit diving deeper, right? You said that, a lot of people are just reading, okay, I saw you on this podcast. This is what you posted about on LinkedIn. How do you think people should be using AI to go deeper than that, right? Instead of just placing in the context that, okay, you went to this podcast, etc. Use that as important knowledge, right? Because those are signals. And how do people leverage AI and the power of AI to use those signals effectively in communication?
I think you're more using as a technographic engagement. Because if I need to buy an F-350 truck, and you can tell me why I need an F-350 truck, which is a very big, international, it's very big, whatever, very big truck, right? So if I said I need to go and I need to pick up my daughter from school and drive to Walmart, I don't need an F-350 truck. But if you're only selling F-350 trucks, I would not be valid. But if you called up and said, hey, Tim, I see that you're driving and you are pulling horses all the time, an F-350 truck works. I see that you have a sales team of over 10 people, and our tool works good for management of those sales team over 10 people. Are you interested? So qualifying and being able to say that in the messaging, I think is highly valuable, because you go, yes, I do have that. Yes, that is relevant, rather than I'm trying to become friends with you and saying, how are you doing during an international pandemic? It's going, I believe from an assumption, I have a solution relative to these technical assumptions I'm making relative to the data that I got. If you're off, you're off. But if you're on, you're on. A caller, literally, I'm on this call, and she had just called somebody and said, I see you're using this HRIS. We'd love to be able to show you how we can help with that. And the guy came back and said, actually, we don't use that anymore, but thank you for reaching out. Like, it made that motion, but the ability to make the motion is actually what's of value to the person, because they care about their tech stack and making it better, rather than you saw that I like the Red Sox and maybe we're friends. You know what I mean? That's where I think we can accelerate it.
Well, and actually, I think you nailed it there. And this is back to what the AI can do. It's like the AI, at least we think, based on the data set, we know what HRS we have. We think we know how big your sales team is, and you make it very specific. And yeah, if I'm going to sell you a truck because I think you're pulling horses, I'm laughing because the F-350 and my sister-in-law went with a Chevy, because she's pulling horses. But that's a perfect one. Hey, and maybe even you can say, it's like, I'm sure you're looking at Ford. I'd love you to come by and take a look at what we've got in the Silverado. I've got a dually that's magnificent. Give me a chance. Oh, but there's nothing wrong, though. I'm going to say, to personalize, if at the end of that quick quip or that voicemail, and this is one I want to remind everybody, please leave voicemails. Don't just call and hang up when I send you to voicemail, because you're not in my contact list in my phone. A lot of us have that filter in there. Leave a voicemail. Some of us will call you back, or at least when I get the email, know what you're talking about. You can still personalize at the end, though. And by the way, I'll throw in a free Red Sox. I'll get you a bumper sticker for the truck if you buy from me. That shows I'm a stalker, but we all know we're all stalkers nowadays in this modern day.
Absolutely. Yeah. Buyers. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll say real quick. And the voicemail, I always say the voicemail adds buoyancy. So if you're reaching out and you've got to go through a volume play, you will. In sales, that does happen. But if you're following up with Erik and you're trying to bring him through, and you've been talking to him, and Erik just hasn't come back to you for 7 emails and as many phone calls, he's the buyer. He's allowed to do that. And guess what? It's going to be 27, 37. But think of every time you leave Erik a voicemail and say, hey, just following up with you. Hope all's going well. My email's easy to find. Call me anytime. The buoyancy of that, enough of them, one will just pop it over. And Erik will just go, and he'll go, all right, and just pops the reply. But if you didn't leave the voicemail, the buoyancy wouldn't have been there, which means it wouldn't have been able to go over the top, which means you wouldn't have got the reply. So exactly, and that's where it's able to go. Hey, and then if you got 5 minutes, going to call, Starbucks is on me. I'll send you over a Starbucks gift card. I had somebody do that before a meeting, and and I went on to I wasn't going to go to the meeting. I was booked for a demo. I was not going to go. The guy called me and said, Tim, I hope you can come to the demo. And I said, well, sure, maybe. And he said, coffee's on me. I'll send you over $5 Starbucks gift card. I went on to that call and spent $25,000. And I did it within 5 minutes, because the salesperson gave me a great analogy of what they did. So it's the small things that you do to personalize it, to your point, Erik, but not on mass. I don't know you, but on the specific, the kickers on the end become the personalization. And that's where AI could tell you, hey, offer Erik Starbucks. He's going to love Starbucks. There's a tool out there. What's it called? It's called for salespeople that are out on the road called Rep Move. And it does that. It tells you meet with somebody and it'll kick it in there. This person likes this coffee when you go meet with them. So bring it. It'll tell you that day when you're scheduling your stuff. Like that stuff is remarkably helpful because it's a $5 coffee makes a meeting that's costing you X amount so much more, but it's not, here's everybody that likes a white chocolate mocha. Let's send it to them all and increase their numbers. It's the inverse of it, which feels like AI should be the mass play when AI is more on a hyper focused play, and it gives you the opportunity to be a real human by using the artificial intelligence.
Nailed it. And that's the accelerant we're talking about here. AI, do not make AI the mass email of the various email marketing platforms. Yes, with Marketo, I can protect my whitelist. I can send with Salesforce's marketing. I still call it Pardot because I'm old. Is there constant contact? Absolutely. But AI should be able to know that I drink espresso shots, black, nothing in it. If AI has that figured out, which would get my attention, fantastic. Don't offer me a white chocolate mocha. That is absolutely not what I want. If you're smart, you'll find out that I ran business in Japan. And you might offer me a matcha. Well done. But yeah, let the AI help you be personal. And that's where it really comes into play. Because I remember when I was onboarding BDRs for one organization, I said, before you ask me for 15 minutes of my time, you owe me 5 minutes of yours to at least learn what my company name is and how to pronounce it. To at least learn what space I'm in. And, we've all had that call when you go, hi, Samvit, it's great to talk to you. And I think that Tario could be a good user of our platform. Oh, come on, at least get 5 minutes. Well, guess what? AI, it's going to do all that background research for you automatically, pull it together, summarize it, give you the TLDR, so you sound, so not that you sound informed, you actually are informed about the person and the company you're talking to. That's one of the big accelerants.
And I'm going to give the other side of the coin on it. For all my volume players out there, right? So if you are in a volume world, which you are, first of all, you got to train to be in the volume world. If you run into the experience that Erik was just saying, if you're given that experience, you need to practice. So there's a way to be able to call and open so that it works when you call somebody. But it means also you have to be able to capture data as you're going, because now we're looking at databases, and the base of the data is where you're able to make moves. It's not, you're always going to have the volume. You're always going to be stuck in that moment of going, hello, Erik. How can I not say that with a name? It happens to us, right? But the thing is, as you're going and you're gathering data, it's the AI's ability to deliver that data, but also the human's ability to set themselves in a position where they can take that data in and be able to engage with it. So it doesn't mean you're going to get a screen that's going to pop up and tell you all of Erik's favorite things to talk about, because when you only have 3 seconds, 7 seconds when it opens up. But it does mean that as you start to move through, the data you're gathering is data you can now see that's relevant to where they are. And the AI's ability to pull that data and make better inferences, that's where our CRMs are dramatically lacking. And it's because our CRMs are either made to be an AI CRM and they don't have any dashboarding ability, right? Zero dashboarding ability, or they're a legacy CRM and they have good dashboarding ability, but all their data is dispersed. They can't access it in a shot. Change is coming within both of those. So you bring somebody up and you can now talk to them. We're not there yet. As we get there, that's going to be able to happen. But in your follow-ups, that's where this starts. It's really important. First call with Erik, you're going to fumble. It's going to happen, right? But you get into that third, fourth, fifth call, you should be able to have data that comes through that's super clear, follow-ups that take what he said being able to pop that in and get a reply that's relative to the data that comes up, the follow-up information that you have with your organization, so that it comes to him and can be more and more dialed in on each email follow-up you're sending. So it means as you go, you're using the data you're acquiring to be able to accelerate and deepen your ability to connect with the person relative to the solution. Why that F-350 over the Silverado at 2,500 or 3,500 is going to be a value. Where we're missing it right now is we believe that just because I shove everything through AI and I write a perfect email sequence, that I don't have to be involved in the process. And contrary to Frere, you are now extensively more involved in the process. And the ability to be professional in the communication raises so much higher because you have to now have the building from behind. It's not an academic experience. This is now a fundamental focus on what I'm missing and how I can communicate. So I love why you put that, Erik, because it gives you the opportunity to now go, hey, you're gonna have less of that because you're going to be able to train better on how you open up a call so you don't hit it. But where you are now held is now, and this is where no one gets it. So if you want to stop somebody from emailing you, here's how you do it. Reply back, sure. You know why? Everybody has loaded 90% of their work on what to do on the outbound, and they have 10%, 5%, 3% skill base on being able to follow up with you. They will never follow up with you if you say sure, because the only answer they got back is here's my calendar link, which is an absolute travesty after all this information you've got, and you use none of it as a human because you don't care. So at the end of the day, empathy is what wins, caring is what wins, and there's where you're able to go and use that in a true form. A little bit of a rant, but I loved how you started that, Erik, because I think about that all the time as people are communicating and how we can get better on those secondaries, but then how we can train better to be on the initial engagement.
So Tim, where do you think, Tim and Erik both, where do you think teams go wrong when they start, implementing AI in their outbound, inbound, and overall, sales motions? Where do you think the mistakes lie, and how can they rectify them?
They read LinkedIn. That's their initial problem. They're reading people on LinkedIn that are all actually telling you things that they just want to tell you because it sounds like they've found something new. It's actually incorrect. It's not built relative to the outbound function and how sales actually works. It's written to be able to go run it through these cute little logos and you're going to get 15 demos booked every day. It's actually untrue, because when you reach Erik looks at you and says, you have literally just frustrated the heck out of me. Just like in that example you gave. So everybody you're reading on LinkedIn right now is all telling you regurgitated things that are actually a watered down function of what used to be and not what is today, by negating what was as a foundation and being able to say just the top and third story, the view is beautiful, but you're built on sand. Yeah. So where you start is being able to make sure that your whole entire process is solid first. There's no AI in that. That's actually being a practitioner of sales, and that your net revenue retention is focused on, and not just slamming your top of funnel. If you don't know what net revenue retention is, that's the first place you're able to start. And that's where you're able to build back from, because investment comes into adoption, net revenue retention, sales, top of funnel. But we flip it and say, look at all this top of funnel I got. Look at all this pipeline I have. Look at all these other things that I have. Focusing on being able to have the full function and using AI to support that is key. Reading somebody saying they put together a new, fill in the blank and 15 different logos and how they're running through, and this is how it's getting me everything I need, and I copy and paste it into code to Claude or whomever, is fantastic. But which we haven't opened up yet. But I know, Erik, I won't take into the compliance side of it, but we'll get into that in a second. But that's where ultimately you're then running super fast into, without even being an actual business development practitioner, and just being really a business development. And Jared, you'll like this. I've been waiting the whole time to say this. Being a business development sensationalist rather than practitioner. Oh my.
The BDS is going to be the
I know you love it, Jared. I know you love it. I've been waiting for it.
Oh, yeah, come on. We all love those acronyms. I think the other huge mistake is, like, for how long did we measure the BDRs based on purely activity? How many calls did you make? I mean, that was the classic. And then how many emails did you send out? And then, so let's face it, that now that we're automating more and more and more of this, that is going to be a little more broken. I'm not saying it's completely broken, but there are definitely cracks in the firmament there. Heck, I've written incentive plans that were based on blitz days. How many connections did you get? And then even bingo cards. How many times did someone tell you to take a long walk off a short pier to make this, something won't get me in trouble with the listeners. So there is a path here of backing up and going, hold it, what do we measure these folks on? Because the whole idea of measuring activity was if we weren't getting them quickly enough to successful calls, we still wanted people doing something in the office. And we're going to have to do a better job of, qualified conversations, hitting every person at the particular company, personalized outreach, pipeline progression, any sort of engagement. So your measurement model is going to have to adjust for a lot of companies that are still on this knee-jerk auto dialer. How many phone calls did you make, and how many messages, how many emails did you send, and how many LinkedIn connection requests did you send out?
So do you think AI has, had an impact on our measurement? Like we should not be measuring the things we used to measure pre-AI because, the dynamics have changed.
Right. I mean, if you're paying me bonuses on something that I can turn the AI to do it, you can. Now, and by the way, back in the prior century, I can actually say this. I was at a startup and I was in sales, and we were a test bed for Salesforce. Before they got big, when they were giving away 5 seats, and I get this email from the head of sales saying, I've got a bottle of wine for whoever can send out the most messages to the names I've dropped into your data set. I simply learned how to use Salesforce's auto emailing, hit all of them, and got a nice bottle of wine out of it. So it's a great way to teach me to do the technology. That was a nice little spiff. I do recommend that for anybody that's rolling AI out into their team, though. Just shift it up. I've got a spiff for the people that leverage it and actually build some engagement so that people will learn how to use these tools and use them and learn them right. But that brings us to obviously this next issue.
That is the most spoken of issue, right? In everything, whether it's, software development, anything else, right? Where does a human in the loop stand? And in our industry and sales, I think human in the loop is the most important. I don't know, Tim, maybe you can start weighing in. Where do you think that critical aspect comes in?
So I've changed up how I look at stats, Eric. You're going to love this, right? And this is human in the loop. My focus is every 15 minutes. You've got a day, you got 7 hours, 7.5 hours you're calling. Every 15 minutes you're talking to somebody, you're connecting with them. They may tell you to go pound sand, sure. But every 15 minutes, have a Slack channel going on right here. Every 15 minutes you connect with somebody. We're not focused on how many calls you make, because I know with the tool I've got, I can do hundreds of calls a day, no problem. Volume may get you there. Doesn't matter how many emails you send, because I've got tools to send out lots of emails. Can you connect every 15 minutes? And if you're not connecting, then we got to talk, because I've got to get you some better people to talk to, right? But every 15 minutes, and it gives the caller the ability to be a human. You're not all bunched up going, I got to get somebody and book them. It's going, no, if I don't get them right now, then I'm going to put them into a pre-funnel stage. So it's before they're in the funnel. I'm going to follow with them just like I'm developing a business development, right? But then as you go, I'm going to have another one within 15 minutes. So it's okay. If I don't book them, so I'm going to be a human, I'm going to be a person. But as I'm doing it, back to your point, Eric, as they're making that call, they're now more relaxed. They can see what they're talking about. They can have an opportunity to engage as much as they can. Even if you're cold calling somebody, they don't want to engage. But if you're going on stage and you're going to freestyle rap, and you knew every time you went on stage, you were going to get booed 100% of the time, you're going to go on stage different than if you're hoping someone's going to be able to receive what you're doing. So that's what cold calling is. You're always going to be booed. But then it gives you the ability to be focused on being a person in the process, not just how do I just run the numbers and get it. And then that gives you the ability to retain what's happened. And a call gets recorded in most states, so you can take that transcript but really you can remember what they said and say, hey, Eric, you said this on the call. This is relative to what we do. Run that through a GPT. Now you got a good email. The receiver doesn't care that the email is run through GPT. The receiver, the Eric on the call, wants to receive the information easily so they can understand what just happened. Close the loop, and then you follow up with them when you said you were. Or because you're relaxed, because you're chill, you're now able to go, and ask for that demo, ask for that time in a much more relaxed state rather than a heightened state. And when you book them into it, you're also now committed to following up and making sure that's a good time for them to be able to come. And then if not, you can help with the reschedule. The whole experience goes into a white glove experience because there's a human in the loop, using AI to be able to accelerate it, but not you're using AI to shove it in there and then be able to smash out the numbers on the other side. Again, you're not being a sensationalist. You are going through and being you're being a practitioner, which means practice is the primary term.
Yeah, I love it when AI says, "Hey, remember early in that call, you promised to send over this white paper or a customer success case. Oh, by the way, I found one for you since I think these two industries are the same. So why don't you send them, Eric's the Erik Charles case study? We think that would fit well." That's a great one. But back on the human in the loop, managers still have to manage.
Yes.
We still haven't replaced managers. I used to grab my laptop. First time I did, everybody freaked out. And I just rolled a rolling chair into the middle of the SDR, BD, we called them SDRs at that company, bullpen. And I just sat listening while doing my work, my emails, and just, perking. And then, after a bit, I called a timeout to everybody. Said, let's go grab a cup of coffee and no white chocolate mochas. I'm cheap. And when we sat there, I said, all right, so you're following up on the leads from this webinar that we just did. Did you listen to the webinar? A little bit of it. Okay. I'm going to give you the briefing on the webinar so that when you're calling up the webinar participants, you actually remember the comments and quips. Even if you say, I can't believe he talked about the Red Sox, I can't believe he's still on this mocha kick, whatever you want to use, but at least have that knowledge. And I would do that. And the way I got it was sitting there. Now you can do that now with all the various recording tools that will record the calls and tell you, but there's still a value in, as a manager, you need to sit down every now and then and just listen to 3 of the calls that somebody makes. Mm-hmm. They might not have the messaging down. And I'm a big messaging guy. That's something I do with a lot of my clients. Like, hold it, let's get your messaging down to a clean conversational path. And if they're off, you need to know that. And the AI is not going to necessarily save you from that.
Absolutely. And more on the human in the loop, right? At Tario, we have a philosophy of, the indifference test, right? Tim, you mentioned that, the email, the buyer would probably prefer it that comes through AI because it's well written. It has all the information present. It doesn't want you to talk to them because, you can easily tell it's an AI and you want to talk to a human. Where do you guys stand, right? That's how we can use AI to accelerate the indifferent tasks and be more productive.
Right.
I think you're understanding where you can use it well. Like, I think there's lots of, like, if I send a follow-up email to somebody, I'm sending a pretty verbose email and I'm adding everything in there. I'm just going to give you everything in one shot, and it's well written and it references, like, if I came off of a demo of somebody, I take the demo transcript and I run that through with the medic points and then put that through a GPT and chat GPT and say, hey, give me the synopsis here. So the person reads it and goes, that's hit all the points of what we talked. Thank you. Because we can use GPT for a closure. You understand, I understand, but I'm also getting this because I'm reading it, right? It's not like I just put in there and I forgot everything, but it gives the opportunity to give that closure. And now my follow-ups, it means, have to then build from that. So again, the human in the loop is the build from it, but I have to now think of the building. So that becomes a great way to close it. We're not missing anything. You have what you need. And then it gives the person the ability, the permission to now ask lots of questions. So I've then gotten back 6 questions. I want to find out these 6 things. And then, hey, before the demo, here's another 5 questions, because they're not trying to figure out what we were talking about. They now know, they now are interested, and they're making huge engagements of when they want to move. And that means that I can go to the technical team and say, hey, technical team, I got 15 questions on, tell me, now everybody's working through it. So the AI is helping us understand and get closure so we can build quicker to where we're going, which is, again, back to the database function. I'm pulling the data out of the database, understanding it so I can move quicker to the next step. but it doesn't mean that the AI is the next step. AI is actually not a thing. It's actually just an accelerant. It's kind of like money. Money isn't actually a thing. It just gets you what you need. AI is very similar. So that gives you the ability to be able to stay, not just human loop, move forward, but being able to do it in a way that you have given closure to the last step, and you're using that, which is just a higher level of efficiency, and then you're able to move forward from there. So it's very exciting, but it also means that you're not taking yourself out, and you have to be much more engaged, because you are then not just reading it, making sure it's all written correctly, but you're also going, does it contextually fit? And you're then responsible to have that retained if then asked inside of a conversation to be able to move forward. So, I mean, you have to grow yourself to be able to stay at the speed of what you've then delivered.
Yep. So, let's move on to Erik, right? There is something very valuable to, reading the room, what AI can't do. Walk us through, right? What we as salespeople should be primarily focused on, and what AI should not be replacing.
Yeah. And AI is not ready to read the room yet, especially contextually. You talked about signing up and doing freestyle rap and getting booed or something. I remember doing a road show for a company, and the audience was vastly different in Silicon Valley versus LA versus Boston, and then New York, where I thought I had failed because they were silent. And then later I found out that was standard for a lot of New York business meetings. But then they swarmed me at the end of it, asking me questions. They're like, oh yeah, we don't really engage here. We sit and listen, and then we'll come up to you. I'm like, oh, I was not expecting that.
All right.
So it panicked me. So a good buyer, the human, is the one that can listen to the voice inflections. And yeah, someone's going to shoot me a note about a new AI that's listening to voice inflections. That's great. And when they can say, but you can suddenly hear, oh, they're driving. They have taken this call from their car. They're on a crummy speaker, and I honestly hear road noise. Now, I personally take those calls all the time in the car because I'm bored. So I will actually take some of your cold calls while driving. This Thursday, I'll be driving up to Yosemite for the weekend. So if someone cold calls me to, California time, starting around 8 a.m. until about 4 p.m., you'll probably catch me on the road. It's not too bad. But if you can hear that stress or that edge or that something, or is silence a good thing or a bad thing, or the click because they're doing emails, but maybe they're taking notes, and you're going to have to listen to that and be ready to pivot or adjust and be able to come up with that other thing. Or they're listening to the demo, but you can tell here there was one really pointed statement. Well, that I don't know how that's going to work. I'm like, okay, I need to follow up on that part of our functionality in my follow-up email, just on that vocal tone. That's going to be necessary.
And I think you have to think about that. AI is how AI works in our GTM scenario is nothing different of what it's done in the past. We take data, it goes into a database. And in a database, you get that data queried from the database with if that, then this boxes, and it makes a dashboard. When you say, here's an if that, then this, it goes into the different parts of the database and pulls it out. The problem databases are now run into is that when you use AI, you are querying it all in one shot, one big CSV all in one place. That's it. That's the whole thing. It's just able to take it, and the LLM takes your sentence and turns it into a massive search function textually. So it's relative to where you are. So if I'm talking about GTM and I'm tuned to GTM, it's going to be different than if I'm tuned to HR, right? And there's a lot of pieces that are in play in that. The problem is that any of the Salesforce's biggest problem right now is they're all AI focused and so forth. So is HubSpot. They have no reach into their databases because the basis of Salesforce is still that same free version, Erik, you and I got in the early 2000s. If you go into it, it is the same look. It is the same time when MySpace was made. They made Salesforce. And that fundamental code is the same thing. When you think about that, that's crazy town. But it means they can't go in and just take all the data and then just ask it a question. They can't do it. They'd have to pull it out, put it into a box, and then ask it questions by having a very finely tuned scenario to do that. If Salesforce did that with all of their accounts, their technological footprint would 10x, which would be insanely expensive. And now you go. So what can it not replace? It cannot replace antiquated systems. That's
Right.
replace, and it won't. And that's prior to 2024. Anything that's made in a database model prior to 2024 is an antiquated system, and there's a line of demarcation there. It's like a Y2K that no one talks about, right? But now anything that's being made going forward doesn't have the data placed inside of it. So as we move forward, we will have more data placed in the proper context to be able to be engaged into. But when you now start talking about the nuances of what's happening inside of a conversation, and you want to be able to read the room, like Erik was saying, the amount of data that's in reading a room and the variables is insanely huge. So to do that, the computing power of it would be like, you're going to spend all this time and energy to get something that's not even valuable to you anyway, because you can process that with what you've gotten from the conversation, so that's really what it's not going to replace. You don't want it to replace, but makes you much stronger in the overall process of what you're doing, because your outbound email becomes clearer, your call becomes clearer, your follow-ups become clearer. It's not going to be a fact that you're going to walk out of a room and it's going to have video to everybody and know exactly who everybody is and what sandwich they want for lunch, and then be able to use that to your benefit. That's crazy town. But it does mean that you're able to now take the information you're seeing and using that to accentuate the long-term process you've already been doing. And there's a lot of people that won't want to do that. They're going to want to say copy and paste into Claude, and they get 15 minutes. I don't need to use a LinkedIn messaging system ever again. And that's fine. Those are the people that I eat for lunch. It's about it. That's wonderful. So by knowing that's not going to be, it's not going to replace that part of it, but I do know it hasn't replaced anything else. It's just accelerated what's already there. And I'm still on top of all of that, moving with my teams along with it, while AI has just made it being able to go faster. But it has not replaced anything, which is great.
Absolutely, Erik. What are your views on, an AI-assisted BDR, right? What can they do better now? AI can't replace the BDR, but what does an AI-assisted BDR look like? And what does the agentic layer, as Tim mentioned, right? You can't have a CRUD database be running and having AI on top of it. But if you have a truly agentic layer taking the lead through the different stages, how does that look like where the BDR is in control?
I'm really happy that you didn't say we don't need BDRs anymore, because whenever I hear that from a company, I'll add that to we're going to eat your lunch. If not today, within a year. I mean, you might have a small little burst. And look, I have a digital twin that I've built out in Claude. I've gone through the exercise to build up an agent that knows how I think, that has read the book that I've written, that has gone through all of my writings, my professional writings, and it gets a feel for me. I still use it sparingly. It's more of a sounding board for me because I don't trust it. The BDRs are still going to be the proving ground for sales. I mean, it's where you learn rejection. It's where you learn listening. It's where you learn persistence. It's where you learn about the client so you can talk to them in their language. And it's where you learn if this is the game for you. And all these companies that want to just eliminate it, that means they will have no bench strength for their AE team when an AE switches and goes quota hopping to yet another company. So that's critical. The BDR role, though, I think is going to become a more sophisticated role in that they will be the AI managers. They'll be the people that know how to use the AI. In the old days, the successful BDRs came up with ways to personalize, to really get somebody's attention. I remember one woman, she sent postcards from vacation spots to all of the contacts she had saying, "Don't you wish you were here? I can help you find some time in your schedule so you can actually take a holiday." Beautiful postcard campaign. Worked really, really well. That's going to be the BDRs that know how to use the AI to not do mass dumping, but instead do really good corporate personalized to all of the personas at the corporation, let's just say. So it's a different message to HR, to finance, to sales, to rev ops, to engineering, whatever product you're selling, going through that. That's where it's going to be. And they're going to have to learn this thing for, how can they be better at automation, be better at managing that, and they will be the leaders.
Got it. All right. Finally, let's put all of this together. Let me put you on the spot, Tim. If you were a sales leader starting Monday morning, what would you stop doing? What would you start doing? How would you change the AI motions around it? How do you cut through the clutter? Like you said, right? Don't look at LinkedIn to have a sales motion.
This is Billy Bean.
Hmm.
That's his actual baseball card. Yeah, Eric, you got that one. So Billy Bean is the coach, played by Brad Pitt in Moneyball. That's his actual baseball card. He failed at baseball. Really good baseball player, but it's his actual card. Pretty cool. Played for the Twins, huh? Failed, cut, came out, walked into a room, saw, we all know the story, right? And there's embellishments on everything, all that. But when you look at the BDR team, they got to get to first base, right? And we've thought of that. We've thought of the BDR team as the same thing as your outbound tool. They're not. They're people. Somebody's working hard. I'm your most empathetic person in the world. If you're not working hard, I have zero empathy for you. I work very hard all day and I fight for everything that I have. And if you're not, you need to get out of my way. If you're fighting, I'm the first person to get behind you. So to fix your BDR team, you have to focus on just what they focused on in Moneyballs. You have to get to first base. Getting to first base is the hardest thing in all of sports. I don't care what you do. Getting to first base is so remarkably hard. All the things you have to do to get there. But when you get there, you're now in this whole new world. You're now looking at a number of other bases you got to get around. So your job is to just get that BDR to first base in everything you have to do to get them there. And sometimes you got to hold them. Sometimes you got to, hold them accountable. Sometimes you got to move them. But you're not rewarding the fact that they're going out there and telling you a whole bunch of things. It's almost like politeness will smother a sales team. And it's not being a jerk. Don't be toxic. But if you're just being polite and you're not letting somebody grow, you've got to hold that and go, you got to get to first base. And here's how you get there. And you've got to build out the confluence pieces. So this is where AI can help. And you can build out Revo and Confluence. I mean, game changer. You go in there, it builds out a very distinct outline of what needs to be done. Super, super helpful. Because if somebody doesn't know what they're doing, they need all the information. And then if they read through it, the old Jerry Maguire trick, you come back there and there's a $100 bill in the back of the playbook. The quarterback that reads the book is the one who sees the $100 bill. If the BDR reads and sees all things that are not done correctly because AI is in there and says, hey, these things need to be, I don't understand this. They're asking questions. Now, what you're doing is you're fixing the team from a standpoint of being able to put yourself out there and be wrong. Oh my gosh. What if the BDR leader, the sales leader is wrong? Yo, I'm wrong so much. And I love it. Because if my team tells me, no, that's wrong, it should be. Now they're telling me how to get to first base. And that's ultimately what we're able to do differently, is be able to say how, not here, I'm going to show you how to get to first base, and you're going to show me how to get to first base. And now we're just beggars showing other beggars how to find bread. And that's where AI can tell you how we got there, how we get there better, how it changes, and all the things that we're able to do. But it's that humbleness of being able to go, yeah, sure, I know how to get there right now. And I'm going to go, this is how we're doing it. This is blah, blah, blah. But then immediately being able to flip it around and go, you're now showing me something. I'm now learning from you. And now you can justify that's correct using AI, because you can run the numbers out and go, yo, you are correct. You went in there. That's the difference. And that's when you can say, if you're every 15 minutes, we're connecting and we're doing all the things we're supposed to be doing, and we're getting to that first base, and you're showing me, hey, this list is not good, or this list needs to be better, or we need to do this follow-up differently. Now we're in a conversation where it has always been. The BDR leader is the supreme controller, supreme everything, and the BDR has no say in the matter. But now this gives us a level playing field, because we all agree we got to get to first base. And by being able to use AI to show us what we've done and what worked and what hasn't worked, I can take all the stats, and I'll close in this little rant here. Actually, you can talk on it because there's a lot in it. But I'll take all the stats from the calling and from HubSpot. I'll put it into Lovable, make a dashboard, and the dashboard will then tell me, by me prompting it correctly, what's good and what's bad. And I'll go, hey, BDR team, Tell me where I'm wrong here. And they go, you're not wrong. Then I go, how is so-and-so, Bobby, how are you killing everybody in this situation? Oh, well, I'm just making sure that when I'm calling, I'm not doing blah, 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 blah. I didn't know that. She knew that. She's killing it. That's the difference of what we're doing now, because we have the data, but the data makes it a level playing field. So even though you're the BDR manager, you're the sales manager, you're the CRO, you're the CEO, you are now not by default the smartest person in the room. And don't we all want to be the dumbest person in the room so we can learn?
Yep. I think, Tim, you put out an important point, right? The problem with sales tools of the past, and what you said, right? You take data from call recordings, etc., even modern call recording software. You should not need to go to Lovable or any other system to get those, right? You should have your sales stack be built in, right? You want all your tools combined together in one place.
Do not get me started.
Build any reports, etc.
As the reporting ability to do it. Look, the problem everybody's got is they give you reporting functions that are remedial. Because if I got to go to Lovable to make it work and do what it's supposed to doing, look, I've been doing this for a long time, and I can get you in on where everybody's missing on the reporting, because they're not taking the data and actually giving me a report. They're giving me numbers. So when a BDR looks at the numbers, you know what they see? They see numbers, they see failure, right? Or they see maybe it's success. But I put all that together and give the contextual engagements therein and be able to show where you can go. And I can show you dashboards. The difference has become now not the numbers. It becomes the things you're able to see inside of it that I'm contextually putting in there. That's something I'm bringing as a human that I'm doing differently, but I'm giving it contextually so they can see the differences. Mostly all dashboards, sure, they give me numbers. HubSpot will give me numbers. Calling tool will give me numbers. Emailing tool will give me numbers. But they're giving me numbers that are almost useless at this point, because AI can fill in all these gaps and being able to give it contextually relative to what you got. That's a whole nother soapbox of where all the tools we got are so remarkably antiquated, and where we're able to go. And everybody's working hard to get there. But here's the thing where we're missing. And I'll pause there for you to chime in on here. This is where the platforms that are building are missing. None of these platforms are asking people like me, Tom Slocum, Jared, Erik, that actually use it. They're asking people that stand on a stage and tell you what they think, that don't actually live on the front lines and the fire is coming at them. They don't ask us, they ask them, and they ask this them that does not have any idea what they're looking for. So you came to me and said, hey, we want to increase our dashboard. I would look at your dashboard and I would rip it apart, and people would definitely feel like I had just insulted everything about them. But then I would show you a dashboard that's actually helpful and go, we can do that, and go, absolutely correct. That's also the difference of what sales teams need to do instead. They're relying on their dashboards, and their dashboards are garbage. I can't ask that dashboard. I can't query that dashboard. I can't give the inside scoop on that dashboard that helps my BDR. I can only tell them, you made all the calls, you did all the things, and you didn't book a meeting. You failed. Or you didn't make the calls, or you didn't do this. What's the thing in the middle? Tell me. And if I can't figure it out because I got too many people, I'm now in a spot that's hard because I'm a manager and I can't figure out what the problem is that's going to help them outside of the numbers that I'm seeing. But if I can tell them that, now as that person, I'm saying, you're not getting to first base because when you swing that bat, you're waiting for a second to watch all those. But I have to watch all the game film to be able to do that. So that's a complete and total other rant that, I'm very passionate about, and I work within the company that I do for HR, but no one in go-to-market has been able to get that even remotely correct. And it's always a very rough time because I have to go build them.
We have a question in the chat from Ashley. I think it's important. Teams are facing pressure with citing, layoffs as the biggest reason. How do you think, sales leaders should move through the psychological dynamic of this on their team, and how should they manage it?
Like AI is replacing their salespeople?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the main thing is if you're doing that, you're doing a poor job in your management to be able to report of what your salespeople are doing to create pipeline. And that's harsh. I get that. I totally get that. But you're also using tools that don't give you the ability to report well. If you tell me what tools you're working, you message me on LinkedIn. I'll show you how to put into Lovable and show you exactly where your issues are with your sales team, but I'll also show you how to take that and run that through your CRM and show you the pipeline that's being created month over month and quarter over quarter, and the sales are being created month over month and quarter over quarter, and the projectability that if you put an AI tool into to be able to replace that or accelerate that, the probability therein. And usually it's going to be a very sour outlook if you look at it from that standpoint, but it should not be replacing it. But as you should also not be out there massively hiring. You should be optimizing what you're doing with your sales team relative to AI being able to optimize
your thoughts?
without grabbing it. Sorry, Eric, I was on a total rant there.
That's all right. Because what I was going to say is, because I saw actually his comment on layoffs and citing AI as the reason. It's the manager's got to say, look, folks, we all know it. AI is here. It is part of all of our emotions, and your career is going to depend upon you knowing how to leverage it to be better than the other person that's applying for the next job. Yeah. So is it a threat? Only if you ignore it. If you learn how to use it, learn how to leverage it. I mean, I've had to do this. I mean, I've flat out had one client say, do you know AI? I don't want to work with you. Even though the work I was doing for them had nothing to do with AI, they wanted to know. So luckily I could pull out my phone and I could show them the 3 different AI engines I've got sitting on my homepage that I access and leverage. I said, yeah, just learn it, do it. So that's how I'd be talking to the sales teams. Like, we are giving you the opportunity to use an AI engine to do better work. Now, I'm going to jump ahead on this a little bit, but by the way, why did you take the BDR job? You probably want to become a sales rep, and that's the one we offered you. Why do you want to be a sales rep? I want to hit that commission check. This is not a straight salary job. This is a job that will pay me for my performance. I am an aggressive individual who wants to get paid for their performance. I want to rise above. The commission check matters. I love how we started off talking about the Starbucks card to go to flashback to the beginning, because one of the things I've said for years, it's amazing what you can get someone to do for a Starbucks card. I mean, it's no different from, like, I was at Coachella and someone's offering free cocktails, shall we say, for singing along or taking a selfie or something like that. Done and done. Incentives work. And so the thing that companies are going to have to do with this AI game, one, you could do an AI to actually drive people, an incentive to drive people to use the AI. I'd have no problem. Whoever can build the best profile of me in the next 15 minutes, I'm taking you to lunch. And just see how quickly the reps crank it up and see what they come up with. But the old days of activity-based incentives are still here, but we have to measure a new activity because we are automating yet another one. I mean, we used to make it based on email sent. Can't do that because then we got random spam rules. We can do it based on voice, calls made, and then you get the people. You ever catch those? My favorite is when I go to my voicemail on my phone and there's somebody just kind of singing into the phone, so that the call recording system will show that they talked for 2 minutes so they can claim they made a call and a contact. People will fake this stuff, but qualified conversations, pipeline progression, sales take the AE taking them from the BDR. Those are now the things, because the measurement system, the incentive system will determine if your AI is being used effectively. That's it. If I get paid to do it, I'm going to do it again. If I can see that link, if I know that learning to bunt suddenly gets me on first and suddenly I get one success with it, or somebody next to me everybody's going to be bunting tomorrow, and you've got a new management problem. So now you've got to start getting the people that can actually hit the ball a little bit, so we can do more than a bunt, so we don't get a squeeze down at home plate. But it's real. People do what you pay them to do. The incentive is the management tool. So you want to use AI, put an incentive around it. You want to stop doing bad activities, fix your incentives.
Got it. Yeah, just to wrap it up, right? Bring all of our, long discussion with a single thread on, right? AI was not the mistake. The way we used it is the mistake. And we must be mindful, right? It is a tool to get the best efficiency. But if your manager is telling you that use AI to cut headcount or for any other reason, that's probably a no-go and you'll pay the price for it in the future. Other than that, right, we obviously know where all specifically AI can be better. It should chain your BDR or any other person doing the outbound motion, string it together, be mindful of all the activities, and do things humans can't do, right? Which is review 1,000 calls, review all follow-ups, make sure the follow-ups are sent on time. I think that's why we have our thesis of Tario, where we are talking to sales leaders as to how it can help them be better instead of talking to CEOs who want to cut down their headcount. I think that's about it. Jared, off to you.
What an incredible presentation and discussion. You definitely riled up Tim there.
Too much? I don't know.
And it's important to have these conversations and also have tools like Tario to really empower the human, behind the AI. Thank you, Samvit. Thank you, Tario, for being an incredible co-host and partner with the RevGenius community. How can people find out more about Tario?
Yeah, you can go to our website and book a demo. We have a lot of tools there to help you a demo on live as well. You can figure out what your SDR team's costing and how you can make it more efficient. I think you'll find a lot of useful information at tario.ai.
So after this, this is being recorded, everybody, so you can dive in to see those points of view. And if you want to do the math, go to Tario's site to run the calculations and see all that. Thank you all for coming and have a great day.
Thank you.
Signing up for a demo there.